I'm going at the speed that's enough for a police officer to arrest me. I just wish this car was a bit more aggressive. Just like occasionally will accelerate and burn tires. I'm talking about limited slip differential, guys. I'm not talking about drugs. Number one in this list is the design. If you've seen the previous episode where I talk about 5 things I do like about this car, then you must be really puzzled, as in that episode I said that I like the design of this car very much. But before you think that I'm out of mind, let me explain what I mean. This car is what we call a sleeper car. It isn't too much different from a regular E-Class. Someone who isn't into cars wouldn't even be able to tell this car apart from E350, for example. They would think it's the same car. Yes, it has some distinct design elements such as a wider and more aggressive bumper, AMG rims, quad exhaust tips, but for me personally that was not enough. Especially in the front, the rear looks quite good because of the exhaust tips, but I wish the front bumpers were more aggressive as well. The only aggressive and differentiating feature the front bumpers have are gills on the side. For most people, the fact that it's a sleeper car is actually a huge plus. I hear all the time people complimenting a performance car for being a sleeper car. I just wish this car was a bit more aggressive. And just to be clear, I don't like when designers go nuts and make the car look ridiculous, like they've done in the latest Civic Type R, but a bit more aggressiveness and uniqueness would have been nice. For example, BMW is doing a fantastic job with their M4 coupes in that sense. As soon as an M4 shows up on the horizon, you already know it's not your regular 4 Series, as M4s tend to have unique and bright colors, daytime running lights, black grills, etc. and they look like an angry beast. That's how I wish this car was like. So the whole sleeper car thing is not for me and is among the negatives of this car for me. Another thing I don't like about E63 is the fact that we didn't get all the options available over here in the United States. And this is more like a feedback for the Mercedes-Benz as a brand. What were they thinking when limiting us in options? Because the US is the strongest automotive market in terms of buying power. So I don't know what were they thinking when not giving us some options that were available in Europe. And plus, W211 E63s lacked some options that its rival BMW M5s offered. And here's the list of options that we didn't get over here in the US that were available in other markets. Please correct me if I'm wrong and you have some of these options in your car over here in the North America, specifically in the United States of America. Okay, one feature that we didn't get over here in the United States is automatically folding side mirrors. That's when you push a button inside the car and the side mirrors fold, or when you turn the car off, they also fold. That was a feature available in the European market, but not over here in the US. Why? Why should we use our hands to fold the mirrors like peasants? What was Mercedes thinking and what is the reason behind it? Another thing I don't like is the fact that when I put the car in reverse, the mirrors don't kind of go down to show me more of the pavement. That was a feature available in all the Mercedes-Benzes, like W210s had them, and Mercedes-Benzes that came after W211, such as W212, also had that feature. So what was the reason for depriving W211 of that feature? I don't get that. Okay, another one is the heated steering wheels. I could be wrong about this one, but let me know if I'm wrong. But from what I could find from my research when I was buying this car, none of AMG models had heated steering wheels. That was more like a feature on E550s, but W211 E63s are driven in wintertime too, although they're driven less in the wintertime, but some people like me drive them all year round, so that would have been a good feature to have. European cars had emergency flashing brake lights, meaning in case of emergency braking, they would flash like hazard lights, letting people behind you that you are decelerating actively. I think that's a very convenient feature that we didn't get over here in the US. At least my car doesn't have it. Let me know if your car has it. But I think that's a very convenient feature that every car should have. It's a great safety feature that could reduce the number of rear-ending crashes. Also, let me know if that's something that you can turn on programmatically, like through software somehow, I would be very interested in doing that. I think that's a great safety feature, like I said. That one, the reason that we didn't get it though, may have to do something with the regulations. I don't know. Let me know if that's the case. One more is the speed limit feature. In Europe, in addition to cruise control, to setting the speed at which you want the car to move, you can also set a speed limit, meaning the car will not go above that speed limit regardless of how much you push the acceleration pedal. I think that's how it works, but maybe the way it works is that it beeps at you. I forgot. I used that in Europe a long time ago, but I forgot. I use that on older C classes. That's a convenient feature so that you don't have to, especially when you are not using cruise control, you don't have to constantly look at your speedometer and check your speed. You just set the speed limit above which you don't want to go, and the car either stops you or beeps at you if you go above that speed limit. We didn't get that over here in the US, unfortunately. Okay, the third thing I don't like about W211 E63 is the absence of LSD as standard. You can get the car with LSD, and by the way, I'm talking about limited slip differential, guys. I don't know where your mind could have gone. Yeah, LSD stands for limited slip differential. I'm not talking about drugs. So yeah, you can get the car with LSD for optional money. Like, that was kind of a rare option on W211 E63s, but it was available for additional money. And the cars equipped with LSDs had different steering wheel. They had like flat bottom steering wheels, and they had different rims. The rims kind of like had dots on them. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of that design. I like the design on regular E63s better. And that option is called P030, P030. And that steering wheel also had Alcantara trims on the sides instead of like leather, like in this car. At the first glance, it looked awesome, but Alcantara has its own downsides because over time, it loses its, it loses its shape, and Alcantara looks great as a headliner, but you definitely don't want to have Alcantara as something that you regularly touch, as it's not as durable as a regular leather. And on a 507 horsepower German rear-wheel drive high-performance car, I think LSD should have been a standard differential for these cars. The regular W211 E63s that don't have LSDs, they use brakes to imitate LSD, and maybe that's the reason why we have 4-piston brakes in the back. And I should say that the car does a fantastic job imitating LSD with the brakes, with the ESP off. It doesn't feel too artificial, and you can do burnouts in this car, and when you accelerate really fast, you will leave 2 stripes, like burnout marks on the asphalt. That's how good of a job this brakes do imitating LSD. And I've power slid in this car many times, no issues whatsoever. But again, if you were, if you were a professional drifter or you wanted to drift more professionally, you would have needed LSD. But for most of us, people like me who are not drifters, who just like occasionally will accelerate and burn tires, brakes do a good enough job. But I think that absence of LSD as standard is a negative thing about W211 E63 and W211 E55 for that matter as well. Did you know that we had a race timer built in the car? It was such a great idea, as you could measure your speed and acceleration using the built-in timer. But it only shows hours, minutes, and seconds, no milliseconds. Really, Mercedes-Benz? A race timer that goes in second increment is as useful as a blind man being a referee on a soccer match. What is this? That was such a great idea, but very poor implementation. So the other thing I don't like about W211 E63 is the transmission and engine tuning. And here's what I mean. In sport mode, before I say that, you know that the car has 3 transmission modes: comfort, sport, and manual. So in comfort, it's very smooth. It starts in the 2nd gear, and it's very comfortable. It's great for daily driving. In sport, I wish it was more noticeable, like difference between sport and comfort was more noticeable. It's not, in that, when you put the car in sport, it will start in the 1st gear, and the shifts definitely do get a little more fast. The car shifts faster, it reacts faster to the throttle response, to throttle inputs, I'm sorry. But what I mean is that I wish the tuning was as it is in the modern day Mercedes. Sorry, I almost said BMWs, but BMWs as well. So modern day cars, they hold the gear for longer when you put the car in sport mode. They downshift immediately when you put the car in sport mode, and they keep it like in the lowest gear possible to give you that feeling of sportiness. The transmission in the W211 E63, which is 7-speed transmission, is adaptive, and it's adaptive both long-term and short-term. What I mean is that it adapts and learns and adapts to your driving style over long periods of time. You know, like I've been driving this car for 2 years and it knows my driving style. But it also has short-term memory, meaning right now if I put the car in sport, because I'm driving like a normal human being and not like a maniac, the sport will act like comfort. It will upshift to the highest gear, to the 7th gear, and will stay there. But if I do a couple of hard accelerations and decelerations, hit it really hard, hit the throttle really hard a couple times, then it realizes, oh, you want to drive spiritually? All right, I'm going to hold the gear longer. So it starts holding the gear longer and it doesn't shift. But let's say if you go back to normal and don't accelerate and decelerate aggressively anymore, let's say for longer than half a minute or minute, then it will start thinking that, okay, you must have completed your aggressive maneuver, maybe you were like bypassing someone, okay, now I'm gonna go back to kind of like sleep mode. Another thing I don't like about E63 is the AC controls. I like the fact that the car has like 4-zone climate control, so you can adjust your own temperature, passengers can adjust their own temperature, and the rear drivers can adjust their own temperature, as well as the how strong the wind blows. And you can control the rear temperature from here too, so I can set the temperature on all 4 corners. But what I don't like is that there is no sync button. There is no sync button for me to like control the air throughout or the temperature throughout the cabin. Instead, what I have to do is, like, if I want to adjust the temperature, I have to push these buttons 4 times. Right now I've set the left side to 67, right side to 67, and now I have to go to rear and set their temperatures separately. That is just not convenient, and that takes a lot of time. I think having a sync button to set the temperature throughout the cabin would be really nice. And the last thing that I don't like about W211 E63 is that the car has too much power for enjoying it legally. That's what I mean, on regular roads. And this may sound like more like a compliment, and it is in a way, than a negative about the car. But I should say that the cars in our days, to be honest, they have gone nuts in terms of giving us more horsepower and acceleration time and then torques. That's all is too much for enjoying legally on the roads, at least in the US. Like in Germany, they get to enjoy all that power. They get on an Autobahn, they floor it, and they can enjoy all the power that the car can give to them. If I floor it for longer than 5 seconds or 4 seconds, I'm going well over the speed limit. I'm going at the speed that's enough for a police officer to arrest me. And that's why I don't do that. Wink, wink. But I can only enjoy this car like accelerating the first and second. As soon as the car gets into the 3rd gear, like if I'm flooring it hard, I'm going 90. That's like too much. Like basically the cars reach 90 in the 1st and 2nd gear almost. And that is way too much. And I recently had a Ford Fiesta ST, and I also had a Ford Focus ST, and I got to enjoy those cars on a regular road. And I should say that those cars gave me more emotions than this car, because I could rev them, I could toss them around, and the feelings it was giving to me, like the joy and excitement, made me feel like I was going 90. And then I look at speedometer, I'm like, no, I'm going 45. AMG has way too much power for us to enjoy on enjoy legally on public roads in the US.